not done one of these videos in a long time, and somebody sent me an email asking me to please do another one of these videos. And it was interesting because, and you're going, what is he talking about? I'll let you know here in a second. And it's interesting because I was just thinking of doing another planet in Nakshatra video. And I decided to do the video I most recently did on Mars in Purva Ashadha and Venus in Vishakha Nakshatra. And right after I opted for that decision, somebody sent me an email about this. I just figured it must be time to do one. So we're going to talk today about Rahu in Magha Nakshatra and some of the connections and associations with that. But why don't we give a little tutorial, right? I mean, there's a lot of you out there who know what Magha Nakshatra is all about, but you know what? There's an awful lot of people who don't, and they're not going to have a clue as to what I'm talking about. And if you would like to know if you have your Rahu in Magha Nakshatra or where your Rahu might be in your astrology, I do have a link below to my astrological services page where you can schedule a consultation with me, and we can talk about your particular astrology. So, Magha Nakshatra. The best way to understand each of the nakshatras is in relation to the deity connected to that nakshatra and the power of that nakshatra, or the Shakti of that nakshatra, as it's also called. What are the nakshatras in general? Let's cover that briefly too. You know, you can look at them as being the powers given to the individual by the universe, God, whatever it is you want to call it, to grow our relationship with the universe or grow our relationship with God. And I'd say both of those things because different people have different beliefs, right? So it's about growing our relationship with God, or growing our relationship with the universe, so to speak. Magha Nakshatra is connected to the Pitris, who are the ancestral deities. Let's talk about them for a little bit. Basically, what they do is they guide each individual along their path. They offer guidance. But the way they offer guidance is in a very subtle manner. Why? Because as an individual, it's important that we have the strength of will to navigate consciousness in the first place. So they want us to feel confident in making our own choices, but they're willing to give guidance if we pay attention. Equally, Magha Nakshatra gives the power to leave the body. The power to leave the body. That means a couple of different things. The power to journey, the power to travel, the power to see beyond the physical. But equally, quite often, this manifests along the lines of not feeling the difficulties of the body, or not feeling the difficulties or challenges one is going through. Just a couple of things that are connected to this nakshatra. Now let's talk about what happens when you place Rahu in this nakshatra. Rahu, which is about facing all of our unknown, disconnected parts of our being, also called the dark side of our being. And I chose the other ways to describe it because I don't mean evil when I say dark. What I mean is all those bits about ourselves that we don't know, don't pay attention to, don't give love to, don't let them see the light of day. Well, Rahu takes all of that and projects it onto the stage of your life when Rahu is active in your chart. And Rahu is very passionate. But Rahu ultimately will pull you in a certain direction so you learn a lesson that you very much need to learn in whatever way he's wanting to show you that particular lesson. And if you try to control what Rahu's doing with you, chances are you're going to get it wrong. If you go along for the ride, Rahu is really going to help you out. So when you place Rahu in Magha Nakshatra, what are some of the things that happen with that? Well, the individual can get very interested in ancient wisdom or wisdom of the ancestors. They become very passionate about it. Case in point, Jimi Hendrix had his Rahu in Magha Nakshatra, and he was very into Native Americans and things like that. So these individuals will become very interested, in most cases, in ancient wisdom. In addition to that, as they are on the path to developing Rahu, they quite often will get so enveloped or wrapped up in those things that they are pursuing through Rahu that they will not, pay as much attention to the difficulties that they're going through. As a matter of fact, they'll quite likely put their pain behind them. At some point, they've got to awaken to that vulnerability. On another level, what happens with Rahu and Magha is the individual becomes very proud as they are working through whatever Rahu is trying to guide them in the direction of. And the reason I say whatever is because it's going to vary dependent upon where Rahu is placed in your chart. So the individual will have pride in terms of how they're approaching things. Though, let's say, for instance, if we've got Rahu in the 5th house in Magha Nakshatra, well, that individual is going to follow their inspiration, and they're going to be very proud in their approach to following their dreams and following their creative inspiration. Or they might integrate a little bit of ancient wisdom into their creativity, one particular way of looking at it. So many different ways of looking at it. And equally, these would be the people that if they are following their inspiration and somebody else is going, oh, you're so stupid for doing that, well, they're just not really going to give a toss because, they have the power to leave the body. And let's talk about the concept that when you've got Rahu and Magha Nakshatra, Ketu is going to be in one of two nakshatras. It will either be in Shatabhishak Nakshatra or it's going to be in Dhanishta Nakshatra. Now, why is that important? Well, because Rahu and Magha is going to be, its nakshatra lord is going to be Ketu. So where Ketu is placed is going to kind of factor into the equation. So if Ketu is in Shatabhishak Nakshatra for people with Rahu and Magha, then what's going to happen is they're going to be on a mission in life. And much like I was saying earlier, they're going to follow that mission, and they're not going to, feel all the difficulties that may be telling them to stop. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it depends a lot upon the dignity of Ketu's lord, and it depends upon the dignity of Rahu's lord in terms of how that's going to play out. But those individuals, if they're needing to be very focused on a mission, because Shatabhishak people, they come here with a mission in life. They're not necessarily happy at fulfilling that mission inside of themselves. But with Rahu and Magha, they're going to be very focused. They're going to be very driven, potentially even very proud. And they may bring into their life a lot of conflict with other individuals because other individuals will likely see them as being somewhat proud. Now, equally, when you shift Ketu in Dhanishta Nakshatra, these individuals, let's say, for instance, as we were saying before, with Rahu in the 5th, and Ketu happens to be in the 11th in Dhanishta Nakshatra, these individuals will be very individualistic. They're naturally going to be themselves and let the light of their pure being shine through, right? And again, they won't care what other people think of them. Other people may say, oh, you're proud, or you're being arrogant, or you're egotistical, but the individual isn't being egotistical. They're just being very self-focused. Now, there is the flip side of that, especially if you have a debilitated Mars in your chart, which rules Dhanishta Nakshatra. Then you would have an individual who would be, being somewhat proud, haughty, arrogant in their approach, because underneath it all, they're feeling a bit emotionally overwhelmed, and because their needs aren't being fulfilled, they're going to have the tendency to try to attract more attention to themselves, right? So just a couple of ways that can play itself out, but I like the concept of Rahu and Magha Nakshatra, dependent upon some of the influences that are connected with Rahu. Let's say, for instance, if Rahu has some career factors that are interacting with it, these individuals might be very psychically heightened because it gives the power to leave the body, to astrally journey, so to speak, and to connect to the ancestors whilst one is doing that. And Rahu quite often has the potential to connect individuals to the spirit realm. So this is also a good position for that. So, you know, if you have Rahu in Magha Nakshatra, quite often, I just want to say that quite often with Rahu, people just think that Rahu is completely bad, right? And Rahu is not bad, nor is Ketu, nor is any other planet for that factor. They're there to help you to grow, to help you to learn. And it's about learning what that planet is all about. And with Rahu in Magha specifically, some of the key lessons that the individual will have to face are, on one level, this is the good side of it. You're not alone. You're being watched over. You're being guided. You're being helped along the way. But if your eyes are closed, you don't want to see, right, then it's going to feel like you're on your own, because the Petries aren't going to yell at you. They're not going to go, hey, you, wake up. I'm trying to show you this. Nope. Instead, they're just going to go, well, you're not paying attention. How can I help you if you're not paying attention? Right? So with Rahu and Magha Nakshatra, it's about not getting so adrift up in the ethers that you can't be grounded and pick up on something that's right in front of your face, right? And it's not about getting so arrogant, thinking that you are a one-man or one-woman show really running everything and you don't need any help from anybody and they can all just go you know where. It's not about either of those things. It's about finding the balance of believing in yourself and also tuning in to the guidance of your higher self, the ancestors, whatever it is that you want to call it, because they are there to help you and they are there to guide you on your journey. And why am I going into the journey? Well, because Magha Nakshatra is the first of the nakshatras that has a tamasic foundation. So it marks the point when the soul is coming into material existence. Part of it, interestingly enough, let me kind of go back a little bit. So basically, each nakshatra has a basis above what the heavens are giving, a basis below how we're responding to that here on Earth, and the combination of those two, which is the result, which the basis above with Magha Nakshatra is mourning. The heavens are mourning an individual, well, leaving the fold, so to speak. Basis below, we're leaving the body, leaving the spiritual body, coming here into material incarnation. And the result of those two coming together is death, or a transformation. We're either dead to that world, or we begin to make a journey so that we come to completion, so that we're not caught up in the material world, which is on a certain level being the same as being dead to the material world. And I don't mean like being dead as in, you know, actually dead, so to speak. Okay, so with this particular nakshatra, it's all about paying attention, not recognizing that you're running the show, trusting that there is wisdom there for you to tap into. That's the ancestral connection, right? And you can tap into that very deeply, but as you tap into it, don't get too lost. Keep your feet on the ground. Let the energy flow through you. If it gets confusing, pay attention. Listen. These are all the lessons of the Rahu and Magha with Ketu and Shatabhishak Dhanishta axis. That's going to do it for a look at Rahu and Magha Nakshatra. Again, if you don't know where your Rahu is or any other of your planets in terms of nakshatras, I do offer a vast range of astrological services which are available through the link that you will see below on this page. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.